Welcome to Tailgate Update. You found the right place to be at episode 65 with a wonderful YouTube account of over 1,200 subscribers at this point. So you're part of not just a viewing tonight, you're part of a revolution. So welcome for tonight.
Wow.
We're going with Ryan Besaw, one of our regulars, Julie Miller. She is here as well. And we're going to let Ryan start the gigantic Indiana Jones size ball rolling with talking about some Major League Baseball happenings.
Thank you, Jay. That was awesome, Jay. That was the greatest intro we've had. I'm telling you, that's awesome.
Thank you, sir.
A lot of hyperbole.
Yeah. So let's start out in the Midwest here. Milwaukee Brewers reliever J.B. Bukakis likely to miss the season with lat surgery. It's an injury that's been kind of nagging at him for a couple years now. But so he's out, likely to miss the season. No surprise here. Seems like it happens every freaking year with this guy. Yankees outfielder Giancarlo Stanton to start the season on the IL due to elbow injuries. So it's not his legs this time, it's his elbow. And lastly, for the MLB, Rob Manfred is mulling the family's request to remove Pete Rose from the ineligible list. Hate that it happened after he passed away, but it should have happened a long time ago. I don't give a shit.
I totally agree with you. It should have happened a long time ago.
I don't know. This dude just seems like he waits for the last minute to do anything remarkably decent. So, whatever. But that'll do for the MLB this week for right now.
Okay. The only other thing I had about the MLB is because it was media, I was kind of paying attention, was the fact that they took a no thank you on the last 3 years of their media deal with ESPN.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I heard about that.
So that's a huge deal. I mean, the rumors I had read was, I mean, they were supposed to be getting $650 million, and they were wanting to give them a haircut, and they told them we would offer you $200 million. And MLB thought, I know we can get more than that. So yeah, we'll go ahead and cut us off, I guess.
You know, baseball on ESPN has really taken a downturn in the last, 15 years or so. The broadcasting crew is really not resonating with the fans. They don't care to hear, some of the people they have on there. And it just, I don't know, it makes it feel like the game drags on. Even with the sped up pace of the game, it just doesn't. I hate when games are on ESPN now. And now with ESPN seeing what the NHL did on ESPN, they're like, dude, we can get more money. It was a long time coming.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a lot, but almost everyone the last 5 or 10 years, maybe even 15 years back, has always thought that ESPN overpaid for baseball. Comparatively with the discussion you get about baseball. I'm in a non-baseball town in the South, and so baseball is never mentioned.
Right.
Hockey is even mentioned more than baseball. So
right, yeah.
Oh, the one baseball note that I had was from I never followed college baseball that closely, but there was a game between George Mason and Holy Cross. And George Mason scored 23 runs in one half of an inning. And they did it without any home runs. It was just remarkable to think about.
That's actually pretty cool. If you think about it, like no home runs in the inning. You scored 23 runs.
Right.
That's great.
No triples, no home runs.
How do you think the other team feels when they, ground out, walk, single, hit by pitch, double, single, hit by pitch, fielder's choice, double, walk, hit by pitch, walk, double,
5
single.
in the inning, by the way. 5 hits by pitch.
Hit by pitch, double, pop out, walk, double.
Yeah.
23 runs in an inning.
And what was so hilarious is one of the players, he made 2 outs in the inning. which is classic. That has to tie some sort of a record.
They only had 5 extra base hits in the inning.
Yeah.
And
I
they
mean, there were
scored
so many
20.
walks. There were so many
One,
walks.
two, 6 walks and 5 hit by pitch.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was looking back at the major league type of things, and 1981 there was a game the Cardinals played in. Uh, I believe it was 15 to 12, 27 runs with
Mm-hmm.
no home runs. Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
that was both teams
Right.
in a whole game. This was 23 runs in one inning. It broke a record that had been around since 1984. I
That's
mean, that's a
crazy.
40-year-old record, yes. And if you think about, you look at the ESPN line scores of every game, okay? Think about there's like 75 or 100 games going on every single day.
Right. Yeah.
So think about how much of a record it is to go 40 years in college as opposed to 40 years in the majors, where there's
Mm-hmm.
only 12, 14 games a day.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
5 or 10 times more games. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that because props to the pitching coach for George Mason that walks in at the end of the inning and says, "Hey guys, way to keep it in the park."
I mean, it's death by 1,000 cuts, but you're inflicting it upon yourself.
Yeah, the walks and the hit
Like,
by pitch.
it's like when you see in a movie, the good guy comes up to the bad guy and like tries to stab him,
Yeah,
and the bad guy just smacks a knife into the guy's thigh.
yeah.
Like, that's pretty much what it was.
That's about the thing. I mean, when you're on your fourth or fifth hit by pitch, I mean, when you just want to forfeit,
I
even
wonder
if you're winning.
how many pitchers did they use in that inning? That's what I want to know.
I didn't see how many, but I saw two different guys. One guy had eight. He had 8 earned runs against him. Another one had 7 earned runs against him, and they both had zero point 0 innings. So they gave up 15 runs between them and no outs.
Ta-da! That's why they always say the hardest thing to defend in baseball is a walk.
Oh yeah,
You give them
yeah,
free bases, they're going to
yeah.
take it all day.
But certainly, I mean, breaking a 40-year-old college baseball record, it's like breaking a 100-year-old
Mm-hmm.
MLB record. So it's astounding that the 21 runs it lasted for like 40 years. And then this one afternoon, this had to happen. So that was so
Right.
weird.
I'm sure our
No.
George Mason fans will be thrilled that they were mentioned.
Maybe we'll double or triple them today.
Okay.
It could happen.
No, this is a great factoid there, Jay. I like that. That's it for baseball, right?
Right.
Okay,
Rolling to
well,
the NBA.
NBA. Well, Joel Embiid shut down for the year with his knee injury. Finally, they finally admitted, well, we're out of it. Let's just shut him down. Dude, all of the NBA this week is just about knee injuries. Magic Jalen Suggs having knee surgery, out indefinitely, removing cartilage fragment in his left knee, and Kyrie Irving tears his ACL out for the season.
Yeah.
That's
Well, they're
Dallas
all like
has
87, so this happened.
Dallas has some bad juju.
yeah, they're all 87 apparently.
Did you ever see Kyrie as Uncle Drew?
Yeah,
That was a great movie.
yeah, it's awesome. But
Yeah.
I believe
But
this
he's
is
37, I believe.
Kyrie's.
That's
I
what I
think
just said.
4th injury.
Oh, I thought you said 87.
I did. I'm making a funny because
is-
it's 37 might as well be 87 the way they break every 4 seconds.
This is Kyrie's 4th knee injury, isn't it? Or 3rd.
A lot. Yeah, I think your fourth is closer.
So I know his 2nd year in the league, I believe he fractures kneecap, right? And then he had that thing in Boston with the draining of the fluid.
I was going to remind you when he was at Duke, he was going to be like the #1 pick, but he missed everything, I think, but 5 games maybe in college. He only
Yeah.
played like 4 or 5 games in college before he was drafted.
I had
Right.
to get the fluid drained out of my knee one time, and they put this huge needle, no anesthetic, and they stick that thing behind your kneecap, like in the where the joint is, and
Yeah.
they just stick her in there, huge needle, bigger than the dentist. Thick too. Whew.
Yeah. I mean,
Hey,
but what Julie was saying was every analyst you hear, especially the ones that were the ex-jocks, when
yep.
they talk about, they say, with the ankle, no matter how bad it is, the first thing they say is, "Oh my God, thank God it's not a knee," because they know the pure torture of the rehab,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
of the cleaning it up, getting it done, resting it, and then having to build the strength back up in it.
Oh my God. And I couldn't bend it because it was like this giant swollen thing. So I was almost happy that it came out because the pressure was so big and you couldn't move it at all because like you couldn't bend it at all. It was just like so. So when you're happy that they're doing that, you're in a weird place.
But imagine if it's bad enough to where you feel you need the fluid drain, that you
That's what
just
I'm
have to
saying.
have it
You're in a bad
done.
place when
Yeah,
that is
you're in
a
a bad
positive
place.
thing. Yes.
Okay. Anything besides injuries or anything much going on? Because it's just getting to the time of the season. If a guy's going to be out for more than a couple of weeks, they just kind of shut him down. I'm thinking.
It usually depends on where they are in the standings too.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right.
I mean, Philadelphia's out of it,
Oh yeah.
almost all but out of it. Um, Dallas is fading.
Oh my gosh, you're so cursed.
I don't even know where the Magic are this year. Like they were good last year. I don't know what they're doing this year. Like I haven't really checked.
They're a little better, but they have a lot of injuries. I mean, Franz
Beat
was
up.
hurt, and yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I have for NBA. Anybody else have anything for the NBA?
No, I saw the
Uh,
same injuries you did.
yeah, I just had the thing. I mentioned my local team, the Memphis Grizzlies, who
Yes.
they lost 3 games in a row on the final shot, and hadn't happened in the NBA since 2002. The last 5 seconds to lose, and the third one was especially bad because they had the ball with 6 seconds left and were
Mhm.
driving. Uh, Lost the ball. The other team advanced it, made a layup with literally a half second left on the clock. It was a literal walk-off layup. So 3 straight games in a row of a walk-off loss, and it was 25 years ago with the Supersonics. So that was the weirdest
Oh, the
bad juju.
Supersonics.
Supersonics, yeah.
I used to. Oh, they had nice uniforms, man.
They did. They had the
The
Rain Man.
logo, the logo. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. The rainbow thing. Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to make a disclaimer. I forgot about this because Jay mentioned it last week that possibly I was. My cat shrieks really loud. I'm sure everyone hears that. I am not hurting him. He is in one happy piece. He's just very loud and possibly hard of hearing and has not meowed that much in his life. All
That's
right.
good.
Thank you for
Yeah.
the disclaimer, Julie. It's really much needed.
Well, it seemed to be as if Jay made a comment. I didn't want our fans
Yeah.
to be worried either.
Anything else to add, Jay? Julie?
No, we're rolling to the NHL.
The NHL.
And I'm gonna kick off this one because I
Oh,
can.
sweet.
I went to my first NHL game in person ever, and the first game that I fully watched since the 90s. So it's been a minute. It was at the Madison Square Garden, which, with all the writing that I do, I have heard of many moments there, but I've never been there. So it was huge and fancy, and I was like, oh, like, wow. And, all the reactions you have the first time you go. And shout out to Bill and Greg. They went with me and my partner to the event, and we much appreciate their company. It made the game so much better. And I promised a shout out because they were great. Anyway, it was the anthem was awkward because I don't know who they let in, but there was a lot of booing during the Canadian one. and there was a lot of like over cheering during the American one. I was like, I'm gonna need you to calm down. It was more than the typical excited one. It was kind of like it was a little alarming. People were a little too excited about that after all the booing. Really kind of it was like the longest couple of minutes of my life trying to make it through that one because I really think like and then when I started clapping after the Canadian one and the people who were screaming behind us were like throwing shade and I'm like, bruh, I'm gonna need you to like calm it down. Anyway, and that Karen too on my row, you know who you are.
I don't think she might be, and she might be watching. Who knows?
She better
But
not be because I don't want her subscription. I want everybody else's. Okay. Um,
I'm sorry, this story kind of got me a little bit because you're like, I don't know who they let in, but they were booing an awful lot during the Canadian. I don't know. Maybe the Americans were there in
no, I
New
know.
York.
I'm saying
The
like
Four
whatever
Nations
night
thing and everything. Yeah.
yeah, whatever nightmare
Overreaction.
corner they were coming from, they could have left them there. Um,
I don't know who they let in. Oh, gee, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I know who they let in. I'm alarmed by those people, and I think we've seen them in the news in the past.
Oh boy,
That's all I'll say about that. But and
what happens?
Bill goes to a lot of games, and he let us know that that is not a frequent occurrence. It's only been as of recently, which I is not surprising, but just a confirmation.
Yeah.
So I am a Maple Leafs fan, although I haven't watched them in 20 years. So they won 3-2. They definitely were the more put together team. They sort of they made everything look easy for the most part, pretty effortless. And the Rangers were sort of fighting for their life, kind of messy in the beginning. They got it together a little bit better after the first period, but it was kind of touch and go for them. And it wasn't a huge surprise when they lost because, as they told us, the goalie is the fourth best in the NHL, I guess. And you could tell. um,
Who's goalie?
the Maple Leafs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. He was like a steel trap.
But Stolars was the guy you're thinking of goalie.
Yeah. What's his
He Anthony Stolars is his name. He came from the Ducks actually a couple years ago.
right?
Very good goalie.
Incredible. I could definitely see that.
You watched a lot of games in the '90s on TV and some recently parts of them. I mean, what'd you like about being in arena?
Um, I will say it's a bit surreal because when they're playing, they don't have any music going, and the plays go for a while, and so you just hear them skating around, and
Yeah.
that was a little zen going because it's like oddly quiet considering how loud everybody is as they're like screaming go Rangers go and then it's just like them just do do do. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that was kind of different. Um yeah, again the Maple Leafs looked really good. The Rangers kind of pulled it together but kind of struggled. I think their interpretation of a fight is embarrassing. There was one where it was like a baby fight. I call them all baby fights. Like they clearly don't know how to do them, or I don't know, maybe they don't teach them the same. But obviously, I was very disappointed because it felt like everything was a penalty. Like, good Lord, can they play at all? Anyway, we had a lot of power plays, of course, a lot of in the box situation, but I guess I just remember like when there would be a fight and like the entire like the penalty box would be so full that they had to like start shoving people in there like sardines in a can because so many people would join in on things. That certainly didn't happen. And it was like pretty weak except for when that one guy like hit the other guy with a stick in the head. Like that one was pretty obvious, but um yeah, so again, 3-2 was not a huge surprise that the Maple Leafs took it, but the Rangers tried and kind of got it together a bit there at the end. But with a steel trap goalie like that, and I will say Bill predicted correctly the score before the beginning of the game, so or in the first period, so I'll give him that.
Wow. That
Yeah,
sounds so cool. I mean, that's got to be one of the three or four best places to see any kind
yeah.
of
And we
event.
were in the second section.
Yeah. The
I'll
best one I've ever
insert
been
some of
to is
the.
Boston Garden,
Okay,
like
yeah.
15 years ago, before the new garden. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, that was pretty awesome.
it was huge, and again, we were, I think, quite close, and it was really cool to see everybody up and close. And even though I haven't seen it in 20, and I wish there's a little bit more blood and teeth, all in all, like a very cool experience. And you were the one who pointed out that I got to see an NBA and an NFL game in the same year,
Yeah,
and I felt
NHL
pretty
and
cool about that.
yeah, the NFL and the NHL at the same year. That's very narrow
Yeah.
because there's very few cities that have both, you know, both
Well, and I did them
franchises.
in different cities, so
Yeah, and you did them in different cities too.
across the country from each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
different ends of the country.
Right. So I don't know which game I'll be seeing next. I know the Knicks I think play there a lot.
At the
Yeah,
Garden.
Yes,
that
because
Oh
was
yeah.
yeah.
they have their Hall of Fame,
Hmm.
the Knicks on one side and the Rangers on the other. And one of the guys was there at the game that was on the Hall of Fame list. I forget. His name was European and complicated, but I mean, as most, but yeah,
Yeah.
so it was kind of cool. The Hall of Famer was there. Yeah, they had like a little celebrity section, so they would highlight everybody. That was kind of cool. Um, yeah, 10 out of 10.
That's pretty
Although
cool.
the Rangers were sort of disappointing, but what can you do?
That's the Rangers season this year. Very disappointing.
And inconsistent is what I heard as well, and I would say that
Hmm.
that's true. Like, it's like they didn't decide to come until the second quarter, a second period. And then at that point, it was like it still wasn't cohesive enough. Like they had possession of the puck for like 3/4 of the game, but it didn't matter because the Maple Leafs were more efficient when they had it, and they had like twice or three times as more attempts for shots, with the puck, and I was like failed attempts, and I was like the Maple Leafs had like, let's say they had 2 out of 12 that worked, right? And the other one had like 2 out of 25. The Rangers kept trying. I believe it was 25. And it was just like it just wasn't working. It's it it,
Shots.
it reminded me of the Lions like season or two ago when they played the Chiefs on the first week, and it was like uh, I was explaining to my cousin's husband, it was like Walmart or Target against like Nordstrom was the environment that was happening.
Hmm.
Yeah, because the Lions were almost as good, but they looked messy doing it. It was that vibe.
Let's see what else is happening with the NHL this week.
Oh goodness, Jay. There's a shit ton of stuff happening. Let's start out way down yonder, bottom there, Sunrise, Florida.
Okay.
Matthew Kachuk, you guys remember him, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be out for the rest of the year on IR with a growing injury that he suffered in the Four Nations face-off. So the Panthers are going to be without him until the playoffs. Hopefully, they're hoping to get him back. He's on long-term
Hmm.
IR. Um. Also, the Panthers are trading their backup goalie Spencer Knight to Chicago for defenseman Seth Jones with a 2026 conditional first-round pick that goes to Chicago. Chicago is retaining part of Jones' contract through 2030, brings his annual cap hit for Florida to $7 million. He makes nine and a half against the cap. He's also in the third year of an 8-year deal, and Chicago's going to retain 2.5 of his salary. So
That was another thing we were talking about because not everybody was like a huge NHL fan there. Like their salaries, I would say, are more in line with like the MLB than the NFL in terms of
really,
amount. Yeah, they don't make that much.
baseball's making a shit ton of money now.
Well, okay,
But just
but
the upper tier though,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
there's
yeah, you're right.
25
Yeah,
on a
you're right.
roster, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
If you're a middle reliever or if you're like the third string infield guy,
yeah. You're barely making about $10 million a year. if you're
It
lucky.
definitely stood out to me because they play like 27 games a week.
Who's
And
that?
the NHL, they have like a billion games a week, and the fans are
Yeah.
screaming at them that they could do better with their eyes shut. And I'm like, well, I want to see you do that. I'm like, if I had to deal with these fans this many times a week, you better pay me something. It felt like it wasn't quite enough at some points.
Yeah, their salaries are, I don't know, they seem puny compared to other sports that
Yeah,
are getting these
literally.
deals. Um, so that first round pick that Florida's sending to Chicago, it slides to a 2027 pick in the first round if Florida trades it before the 2026 draft. So that's the conditional pick. Um, yeah, Spencer Knight, his first start in Chicago, 41 saves out of 42 shots.
Nice.
5-1 win.
That's a record.
5-1 win right there. And you were talking about the Rangers and how they're inconsistent.
Mm,
After they lost to Toronto, they posted back-to-back shutouts of 4-0 Sunday and Monday.
that's wild because they were kind of messy. Who were they playing though?
They played Nashville and they played the Islanders.
Oh, we definitely had to talk about that. What team and why Predators?
Why
Okay.
Predators? I have no idea. It was an
It's a
expansion team.
terrible name. It's probably the worst name in all of sports. It's like you might as well.
And why Nashville?
Yeah, it seems like they're all in New York. Now we know there's some in
So
Nashville too.
the national market for hockey though
I
is
don't
actually
think they
pretty
mean that
decent.
kind of predator.
I'm just saying, like they're like, oh, it makes them sound like an apex predator. No, it don't. It makes it sound like you got ditties running around up there. That's what it makes it sound
There is
like.
a decent market for hockey in Nashville, if you believe it or not.
No, I do
Fans are
believe it, but it's not because of the name.
their fans are actually pretty crazy, and for a time they're very annoying.
I
So,
believe that. I
um,
saw a lot of that myself.
they do some. They were throwing catfish on the
Yeah,
ice
I did
just
see that.
because.
I wrote an article, as we all know, about all the things that people throw on the ice, and that definitely made it.
Yeah.
I would be mad too, though. I'd be in protest. Like, can I not be Michael Jackson? Like, you know what I mean? So anyway,
Yeah,
that
sure.
one was a conversation that had to come up.
New Jersey Devils forward Jack Hughes is out for the season with shoulder surgery. He injured it.
I don't know how because there ain't enough force or impact or anything happening anywhere for an injury to happen. It seems like
He got tripped and he slid into the boards shoulder first.
you have to work to get hurt out there.
Yeah.
The checks, even the checks are soft.
So it depends on who you are and what game you're watching. But yeah, so he's out for the season, shoulder surgery. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to receive Yanni Gord and Oliver Bjorkstrand from Seattle, sending 2 first-round picks of 2026 and 2027, and a 2025 second-round pick, which is Toronto's second-round pick that was given to them. And Michael Eyssimont, they're going to Seattle. So Yanni Gord's coming back to Tampa Bay where he won 2 cups. Yay. I really don't know who won that trade. I feel like Tampa Bay won that trade.
I don't know enough to say.
Back to the Devils. Their coach Sheldon Keefe, $25,000 fine for unprofessional conduct leading to an injection on Sunday. He was yelling at a referee, and they were like, "Nah, you're out." And then you're like $25,000 on your ass too. Boom.
That sounds like a very Canadian response to that.
Yeah. So that's that.
You should have just said sorry.
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 Sorry. You want some maple syrup? Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, I do like Canadian people, and I do not appreciate their anthem being booed. I'm just gonna bring that up. Like, I'm not like I'm not that anti. Okay, like that was crazy. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, whatever. The Great 8, Ovi, Alexander Ovechkin, 11 goals away from the record. From here on out, though, every goal he scores until he breaks the record and till the end of his career will raise funds towards pediatric cancer research. He partnered with Hockey Fights Cancer and the V Foundation for Cancer Research to launch the Great Chase for victory over cancer.
That's the
Okay.
most wholesome thing we'll talk
Yeah,
about in like the next month.
it's awesome.
That leads me to the question, does that mean that Gretzky has to quit rooting against him?
No.
Is he
Is
rooting
he?
against healing cancer? I would hope. I mean, I would.
Yeah, Gretzky's gonna have a sign that says "I support child cancer." Yep, that's what's gonna happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, those words exactly. Yep.
I mean, you
He's
know,
chasing down Dwayne Jetski. I don't know if you guys seen that commercial yet.
haven't
No.
seen it.
Oh my god. He's in a
It'll
commercial
come.
with Jennifer Coolidge and
It'll come up.
they're at a
Jennifer
hockey
Coolidge.
game and she's like, I'll pay for it. I got you, Dwayne Jetski.
Oh no.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it now. Okay.
That's funny.
She says, "Don't you know he's the great one?" I think, didn't she say something like he's pretty good? He's the great one.
Look, Jennifer Coolidge cannot be spoken enough about how her comedic talents. I'll just
She's
say
pretty
that.
funny. She's
Yeah.
actually pretty funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So that's everything for hockey. I was so tempted to say she was a very appealing person because all I remembered my sister saying for 10 years after watching a Cinderella story with Jennifer Coolidge in it. Anyways,
Oh,
Oh yeah. That
well,
was
I
my
mean,
movie when I was
American
younger.
American Pie, though.
yeah, she was
That's
Stifler's
what made
mom,
her famous.
but for kids my age, like she was in a Cinderella story with Hilary Duff, and my
Yes.
sister wore that movie out.
There's
still
no wearing
does.
that movie out. I
She
still
watched
watch
it
it
so
every once in
much.
a while.
Oh, so do
Yeah.
I. But
Yeah.
my sister would just go around saying, I'm a very appealing person for years, and we still say it sometimes.
Look at and Jamie French on YouTube. She's a pretty well-known comedian. She does Jennifer Coolidge and like she
Oh,
talks like her.
yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, love them both. All right. Anyway,
Are we on to the Shield,
The
yeah.
the National Football League, No Fun
Football League.
League? Yes.
We're contractually obligated to stretch it out like that.
Yeah, we get paid extra for that.
The following presentation is brought to you by the National Football League. Sort of.
An extra 50 cents for
Adjacent.
everyone.
Adjacent.
Jason.
Let's get started. Okay, let's get started in the NFL out there at MetLife in East Rutherford, because this is funny. Woody Johnson gets an F grade from Jets players in the NFLPA survey. The NFLPA released annual team report cards. Over 1,600, almost 1,700 players participated / graded their respective teams in various categories. Jets players sent a loud message to owner. Only team to score an F in the league in multiple categories. And they just got flat out F. They're bad. I laughed when I read that. I was like, I'm not surprised at all.
I just don't even know, like.
No, last year they actually ranked, I believe, 23rd in the 21st in the league within this grading system from players, and they just dropped to boom.
And see,
F.
you thought you couldn't
Gone.
fail once you're done with school, and now you know. You
Sir-
can still get egg on your face.
He needs to fix it. That's all I'm saying.
That's rough.
It is. Just imagine, just the only team in the league did be, and the Giants didn't get an F, and they're just as bad.
I'd be crying in the locker room.
I just don't believe it. Just don't believe it.
Like both of the teams are trash, so at least
Yeah,
one
that's why-
acknowledges it.
Yeah, I feel like the Giants players lied.
They need to hire me to head over there because it's around the corner and do some sage or something, get some of that negative energy out.
Something. Holy God.
Mm.
Let's talk a little contract talk here. Let's head up to the only team that actually plays in New York. The Buffalo Bills are inking Khalil Shakir to a 4-year extension. It's worth
Nice.
up to $60 million plus $32 million. I think that was guaranteed. Maybe.
I like him a lot.
I like Khalil Shakir. He's very good, very shifty.
Hmm.
Got great hands, very fast, good route runner. Um, he's coming off a career year. He had 76 receptions on 100 targets, 821 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's a leading receiver for the Bills. Josh Allen's favorite weapon.
He
So they're
doesn't
bringing him
have that
back.
many, so
Yeah, I mean, he can dump it off to Cook. He can give it to Knox and Kincaid.
well,
But
yeah, I'm saying like wide receivers, I
wide
guess.
receiver wise, yeah, I mean, he's
There's
not using
like
Curtis
very few.
Samuel. He's not exactly using Curtis Samuel like he's the number one target. So, um, some more contract talks. Philly's resigning linebacker Zach Bond for $51 million. Dallas reworks Dak's contract, which was so disgusting. Makes me want to throw up every time I think about it. They're adding $36 million to the cap. Max Crosby, 3-year extension, $106 million. Highest non-quarterback, highest paid non-quarterback in history. He's getting $91.5 million guaranteed to stay in Vegas. I don't know if I'm supposed to feel bad for him or not, but boo-hoo.
Well, they have a lot of hope now. I'm not saying it's going to turn everything around, but there's like maybe a glimmer of light in the tunnel, which you cannot say for every team.
I, yeah, I mean, if they fix the quarterback situation, they might have much more of a chance to at least compete for second place in the West. Maybe a 7th seed, but I don't know. I just don't feel that something's wrong with the culture over there. Feels like, to be
They
honest.
need some sage too.
Yeah. Um. The Rams restructure Matthew Stafford's deal.
Hmm.
He's going to stay in LA. He actually took less money to stay in LA. The Raiders
Well, he
actually
is
gave
like
him.
50, so
He's 37. Leave him alone.
yeah.
Um.
It's
Yeah. He took less money. The Raiders were going to give him actually more money in a deal if they were going to trade for him. And he was
I'm
like,
so glad they
"Nah."
didn't because I want to enjoy Pete Carroll without having to deal with Kelly.
Yeah, she can be a lot, but
And I was going to say he is one of the, I don't know, 10 people that's been linked to the Titans this offseason. There's
I
not
never
been a
saw
court.
that.
There's not been a quarterback rumor that hasn't had the Titans down as the third or fourth or fifth name.
See, I saw Aaron Rodgers, but I didn't see Matthew Stafford's name linked to him. I saw
I have, and I've seen DeArnold.
really, I can see
Yeah,
Darnold. I can see that because
I've seen DeArnold.
the
Yeah,
Vikings aren't tagging him, so he's off on his own. He's getting a free agent market deal.
right.
Um, but I saw Vegas and the Giants, and there was another team in there that I think they were an AFC team, but they were in on the Stafford sweepstakes. And the whole time, people, oh, Stafford's gone. Stafford's no, he wasn't. He Matt McVay said there was no doubt in his mind that Matthew was coming back, so he's back.
Well,
Thank
what
God.
McVay says can switch up as we know pretty quick.
Yeah. Alaric Jackson, the left tackle for the Rams, he signs a 3-year deal worth $57 million. He's getting $35 million guaranteed to protect Matthew's blindside. So, do your job this year, man. I think that's everything for the contract talks. But we got some trades or a trade,
Hmm.
technically a trade. The 49ers are trading Deebo Samuel to Washington for a fifth
Yes.
round pick. Washington will take on the remainder of the contract, which is $17.5 million for 2025 season. But San Francisco will absorb $31 million in dead cap just to ship him off to a NFC. I don't want to call him rival, but
Yeah, they're
same
kind of
conference
talking
team.
about him like he's like
Yeah, Debo has dealt with some injuries in the last couple of years, and I just
it's like they forced him to play because he said he did not want to play when he had pneumonia. Then he does, and they don't like that he's dying on the sidelines, literally with the oxygen mask, sweating from a fever. And then they wonder why he doesn't come back. Maybe if you just let him go to the hospital, like he should have stayed at, he wouldn't have. Like I don't know, like they're acting like he's some kind of like locker room cancer, and I just think like they did him dirty.
I believe Shanahan kind of soiled that relationship a little bit, along with Lynch. I believe the front office and the coaching staff soiled it, but at the same time, they're trying to
Washington
look.
is no bad place to go to, though. Not anymore.
Not
It would
anymore.
have
You're
been,
Not
right.
but
anymore. Yeah.
Right. Dan Quinn is really making that culture different. They feel hard nosed. They feel like they're never out of it, and they're a decent team to watch now. I hope Jaden continues to grow, but
not have a Stroud moment. Not that
not
Stroud's
have the
gone, but
sophomore slump is what they're trying to avoid here. But the Niners are trying to sign Brock Purdy, and getting rid of Debo frees up a little bit of money, but they got 31 million against the cap, at least for this year.
well, I know that
I
they
don't.
love Purdy, but does anybody else love Purdy as much as they do?
I look around the league and I'm just like, I don't see him succeeding anywhere else but San Francisco
Yeah, so do
at
they
the
really
level
have to
that he
worry that much
does.
about paying this guy? I don't know. Maybe so. Where
I don't
else is he
know.
gonna go?
I don't know. So we saw Jared Goff take a team to the Super Bowl and get paid for it. Brock Purdy's probably expecting the same compensation.
Yeah. I can't
Uh,
hate on a man wanting his money, okay?
Yeah. So
It seems like a bit of a stretch.
if we know anything about the 49ers, they'd love to overpay quarterbacks who are not at that tier that they get paid at. So
Don't talk about Young like that.
huh?
I said, don't talk about Young like that.
The Niners, they do. They like to overpay for quarterbacks who are not at the tier that they get paid at. So, we've seen it with Jimmy G, and they moved up to get Trey Lance, who played like 17 snaps for them. And then Jerry Jones just released Trey Lance and had the nerve to say, he just said that the Niners duped him.
Okay.
2 years after they bypassed Joe Montana for the so-called young upstart
See,
Young.
that's what I
Steve
He
Young,
that's what I
led
was
them to the
referencing,
playoffs
yes.
twice.
Yeah.
Steve Young.
Kansas City. Yeah.
Oh,
no,
you're talking about Montana.
Montana.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
He took Kansas City to the playoffs twice.
Yeah, that was some bullshit. Like that
And
was
he also took him to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
But
It was
and then
incredible.
Steve Young was, still trying to get his feet under him. I mean, he was doing decent in Tampa Bay before he was traded over to be Montana's backup and eventually his successor. But, he still had, 2 years before he actually made it to the mountaintop and never got back.
Yeah, and that stupid
one
quarterback dance was bad for everybody. It was bad for morale. Like, oh, we're gonna put out Montana, no, we're gonna put out Young. Like,
Yeah.
when they were that's not good for either quarterback and
Right.
creates like tension and doesn't allow either one to flourish. Like, I think that was on the team too. Like,
Yeah.
a lot.
San
But think
Francisco,
about it. Same team within a 5-year span win a Super Bowl with 2 different quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's a rarity. Think about who else?
But if you think about it, though, Jay, that Niners team, they were a dynasty, man. Before
Roger Craig, people don't understand how great that dude was.
Right. They had Taylor, they had Rice, they had Lott.
Taylor was so underrated. He was a multiple-time All-Star. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was All-Pro multiple times.
That team was run on the West Coast offense, run heavy, set up the pass, and you had quarterbacks that could do it. Steve Young and Joe Montana were two of the best minds in the game when it came to just dissecting defenses.
Right.
And the West Coast offense allows you to do that. It's the same shit 30 years later for San Francisco. And it's going to be like that as long as Shanahan is coaching, because he grew up in that system around Bill Walsh, around his dad. I mean, it's never going to change. And when it did change for San Francisco in that span before Shanahan got there, and before I'm blanking on his name now, Harbaugh, before he rejuvenated that 4-year span where they were pretty damn good.
Yeah, absolutely, they were great.
They got away from that West Coast offense. They got away from the quarterback play. They got away from the running back. Well, they had Frank Gore, but they weren't explosive because they didn't have the quarterback. You know what I mean? And they struggled mightily offensively for most of those years. Kyle Shanahan, I'll give him the flowers. He's a genius. But when it comes time for it, he chokes in the big moments. And that right there upon, on top of the quarterback play, when it gets to the part of the game where they need it, 2 Super Bowls, they needed quarterback play, and they don't get it. That's what I'm saying.
Was
That's the problem.
Shanahan in Atlanta?
Yes, he was
Okay.
part of the downfall in Atlanta in the Super Bowl.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, but I didn't want to jump out there with it.
Yeah, so it's gonna linger with him until he wins it. We saw it with Andy Reid for a long time. It's gonna linger with you until you win the Super Bowl. You can get
Yeah.
there, so what? You don't win it. Now Andy Reid has what, 4 rings? So I
Three
mean,
with one team, one with another. Who else has done that?
I don't remember.
Nobody. I don't
I
think
don't
Yeah, I
anybody
don't
did
remember.
think
that.
so.
Everybody that did
But
4 rings, they did all with one team.
Yeah, and he was the winningest coach in Philadelphia too, I think. So like even if he only
yeah,
got one there, like
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but that's the deal there with Debo. They're definitely trying to figure out the money from Purdy. He's
So he
definitely gonna
doesn't
get
run
paid.
away to go to another team.
Yeah, that's the thing
I
with
don't even
Purdy
know if
though.
it's I don't know, it might be worth it. I mean, I might be just being a hater because with this quarterback, anybody might take him, but I just don't know if
I
Mr. Irrelevant's really a flight risk.
I don't know if he succeeds anywhere else. Like I said earlier, it's
Have
just
you
that
ha-
freaking system creates gems for some reason.
have you seen the list of free agent quarterbacks? It's incredibly long this year. It's a couple
I
dozen.
haven't seen any. No, I haven't looked. No, I
It's
just
about
know
20 or 22.
I know Sam's on there, Darnold. I know he's there, and I don't know who's gonna pick him up. Um,
Isn't Kirk Cousins on there? Or no,
Yeah.
Not yet. He's not there
not yet.
yet.
Oh,
They said that they're planning to release him or
Yeah,
trade him,
but they
but
haven't yet.
at the time they're gonna wait until the following season, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
Which doesn't make sense to me. Just get him out of there. They want him to sit behind Penix and teach him
Okay.
while he's starting.
I can kind of understand that. That's an old concept of actually
Yeah,
training young quarterbacks with veteran quarterbacks. It worked for a long time.
it did, and it's a time tested theory. Get
Yeah.
a vet in there, teach this kid.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not like Kirk doesn't know. It just might be that, now he might have aged out, but it's not like he don't know more than most people will forget about football. So,
yeah, and it's not. You're not always gonna run into a Brett Favre situation where they're like, it's not my job to teach this kid. You know,
you rarely run into a Brett Favre in
you're not
general,
going
okay?
to. But so let's go up to the frozen tundra. Green Bay is open to trading Jair Alexander. They would pick up just over 6.5 million in cap if they traded him early in the offseason rather than the post June designation.
Mm.
So that's what most teams do. They look for that post June 1st hit, and if it's gonna be pretty bad, they're like, let's trade him early. But they're open to listening. They haven't really said they're going to, but they're fielding it.
Yeah, seeing what the market like.
Yeah, just kind of seeing what they can get for him. But another one who's seeking a trade, DK Metcalf,
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Metcalf.
Yeah, that was I'm not totally surprised at all, and like, but I was a little bit. I was a little bit. I was sad to see Lockett go because I know they were talking a little bit about keeping him around, possibly, and then and I know that they were such a tight duo that I don't know what would make Metcalf because he's such a hothead. I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
it could literally just be a matter of difference with the new coach or something. Because I know that like he doesn't seem much loved by the players, and there's not a lot of great things happening roster wise over there.
Well, the thing with DK though, he's the one receiver, right? His route running pretty much is limited to fly routes and digs. He's not much of a route tree guy, but he's big, he's strong, and I feel like, not to hate on Gino or anything, but like I feel like once Gino got there, he just started kind of like I don't care anymore.
I do think he lost interest because I know like I think he has gotten targeted less, and I feel like he's a man with the ego. He needs to feel like he can get his flowers.
Well, he benches 400 pounds. Of course, he's gonna have an ego.
Look, I'm not hating on the man. He's the one who showed up to, was it Tyler Lockett's wedding in shorts? He's his own kind of person, right?
Yeah.
But but I can see, especially if he has creative differences with the new coach, like that might have been the nail in the hammer kind of thing. The hammer and the
Yeah.
nail, whatever.
That could be it. Yeah.
And
I
I
just
know
don't
him and
know.
Lockett have been like this since he first came.
Yeah, and when I saw the news, Tyler, I heard he was getting released, but I saw it was official today. He's getting released. Immediately after that, yeah, I got a notification DK Metcalf seeks trade.
Yeah,
So I don't know if the two were tied together or what, but I feel like it has something to do with Gino, and it might also have something to do with the fact that JSN's now taken over as the one.
right.
So,
Which feels he's a little young, I think.
well, Puka Nakua took over year one from Cooper Cup. So,
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
I
and I love
mean,
JSN too. Like, I love
yeah,
him. But so, like, yeah, I mean, maybe Metcalf can go somewhere else where they better use his talents because he hasn't been getting that many opportunities for last season, period.
yeah. I had DK in fantasy last year, and his numbers fluctuated like
Yeah,
bi-weekly.
yeah,
He 1 week he'd go off, 1 week he'd be like nothing. And it's like, do I hold on to him? What do I do?
right.
I just don't know what the market is for DK, to be
I
honest.
know. It'll be interesting to see, and especially with Devontae Adams also rolling around out there.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see because they're both kind of, I would say their personality. I mean, I'm not saying Adams is maybe as loud as DK, but they both are kind of top dog vibes who need to shine. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure like how many where. I mean, definitely Buffalo.
I mean, Buffalo sounds like a great spot to send him, but I don't know if they have the cap.
Yeah.
That's the only thing for me.
I
I
feel like
mean,
they're gonna be running after the Raiders so they can get back with Pete because they all love him so much.
they do need receivers over in Vegas too, but
Yeah.
they have more needs than just a receiver. My goodness.
Right.
Um,
I
but
think that they may be able to get a quarterback this year
Hmm.
because Shadur is dropping in the prospect
oh my
rankings.
God. If, if that is not Dion's son, I don't know whose he is.
Oh my
Well, yeah,
God,
we don't need a paternity test. We
he's
He
know.
him.
acts just like his father.
He is. And, I mean, for all the highlights you ever see for Dion, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I was around the Dion era. He could have been one of the top 10 baseball players of that era, or it could have been one of the top 10 defensive backs of that era. When he tried to do both, he was just hurt all the time.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, but if you look at it though, Dion is definitely a top 10, if not top five corner all time. If you look at it,
Yeah,
skill wise.
if you yeah, skill wise, if you look at a 5 year window,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't look at like a long term, past defenses or long term this or long, because they literally, he was that guy that they would not throw in his
Right,
area.
right,
It's not
yeah,
like he's going to get a whole lot of interceptions. He probably has the highest interception for a touchdown ratio of anybody
yeah,
because after that, they just quit throwing in his area.
yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I want to make sure we get this in because it's boiling hot tea last hour and a half. That there have been two men arrested for the three I think most of them know as the three Kansas City Chief fans. I That's all I've ever really heard about them referenced as. And they froze to death in Kansas City in 2023, or maybe it was 2022, the very in December. It was one or the other. I think it
2023.
was in January.
Yeah, it was in the playoffs in
Yes,
2023.
right. And it had been over a year and people were getting kind of testy thinking that they weren't doing nothing. But the police are like, nope. They found DNA evidence on some of the illegal substances that were in the home that the homeowner and the dealer had. They both had their DNA on the substances that took out those three gentlemen. It was a mix of some Fanny Wap and some Coke soda. So and apparently it probably, that That is dangerous stuff. So, both gentlemen are down. We all had our eyes on the homeowner, like, questions. And he was a scientist who was working on really important HIV research, so that was really unfortunate. But look, you can't go killing friends, okay? It's just one of those things. And all three, and then we still don't know why they got dragged outside because it's believed that that all three of them were found in the backyard. So it's very odd. We still don't know how that happened. There was a speculation that maybe they started getting so hot that they ran to the backyard to try to get cooler, but it also could be that when the homeowner saw that they were all, he wanted to get them out. So it could have gone either way. There's still some leftover questions, but finally we're seeing some justice. All most of them were fathers. I believe there was like four, no, I think there were six kids in between the three of them. Most of them had, partners, so it was good to see that there's some justice here, and it's just really unfortunate. But I've been kind of just watching her, really hoping that something would happen, and having a lot of questions about that homeowner. So I was happy to see that there's some charges for manslaughter and I believe the dealing part of it with the substances. So, yay!
Okay. I've got just one last thing to throw out from me before we start like circling around with everybody's last important thoughts.
Sure.
I've been paying attention to the G5 in the NFL Draft Combine. There was a guy out of Toledo. His name is Darius Alexander. He's a defensive tackle. He's I think 6'5", but anyway, he's a 305. Okay. His 40 time was 4.98,
Really?
which is very impressive when you're 305, you know?
Dang.
Yeah.
And also he was, I believe, fifth in the bench press reps. He had 28 reps on the bench press bar, which is 225 pounds they put on there for you to do as many times as you can. So that was very impressive. That was fifth for that was third or fourth for like interior lineman, I believe. But the other thing is the local guy, Mr. Seth Hennigan, won a bunch of bowl games for the Memphis Tigers. He got the last two touchdown passes in the Senior Bowl to win the Senior Bowl, and he measured good. He did a good 40. And there's some people saying that he will be like a seventh round pick, possibly, even though most people think he'll be an undrafted free agent. But he measured well. He was 6'3", 215. So the height's a lot for a quarterback. He's out of Denton, Texas, the son of a high school football coach. He won state championship in college and never lost a bowl game. So, he had a good run. So we'll see if somebody picks him up or if he at least is holding a clipboard for somebody. So that's it. Yeah, for me.
Okay. That's good.
Nice
Good stuff.
Last thoughts for anybody else?
Well, I think we can just give a shout out to the McLaughlin family. As many know, D-Mac, Brian McLaughlin, he passed away last week, I believe Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his son made the announcement via Twitter. And we all worked with him, all four of us in some capacity. And it's a great loss to the sports world and to us. And I think he deserves a shout out. And our thoughts are with his family, absolutely. And it's been really heartwarming to see how much people have been donating with the GoFundMe. So I'm really happy to see that, and so just wanted to mention him as well. And this week I will be writing about it's Women's History Month now, so I will be writing those articles. And also have not gotten the Kardashian curse out just yet, but I will. And you can find me at It's Miller Crime.
I'm at Ajax Allen on your Twitter machine. And I actually been getting some pretty good numbers on some really irrelevant clapbacks at people. That's it.
That's your special skill.
Wow, Jay.
Mm.
What about you, Ryan?
What about me?
Give us your handle, man.
Oh, it's at Bees Knees 97, man.
Sweet.
I'm the Bees Knees.
There you go. Okay.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
like, subscribe, as I mentioned before. We want everyone but that lady. You know who you are. We have 1,200 strong, which is very exciting, and we cannot wait to get more. And we can't do it without you. Most of you, all but one of you. So make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, ding, and we will be serving the hot goss again here next week.
Yeah. Thanks,
Right.
everybody.